Have you ever noticed something interesting about money? Two people can have the same job, the same education, sometimes even the same salary. Yet over time, their lives begin to look completely different. One person stays dependent on a single paycheck. The other slowly builds something else on the side. Maybe a small online business, maybe investments, maybe freelance work after hours. Eventually, they're earning from 2, 3, sometimes even more places. And it raises a quiet question. Why do some people feel comfortable relying on one income, while others feel an almost constant urge to build more? The answer often has less to do with money and more to do with psychology. Because when you look closely, people who build multiple income streams usually share a similar inner pattern, a pattern that often starts much earlier in life. There's an interesting idea in psychology called locus of control, introduced by psychologist Julian Rotter. In simple terms, it describes how people see control in their lives.
Some people believe their future is mostly shaped by outside forces, the economy, employers, luck, or circumstances. This is called an external locus of control. Others believe their future is mostly shaped by their own actions and choices. That's called an internal locus of control. Neither mindset is completely right or wrong, but it changes how people behave. Someone with a strong external locus often feels safer relying on stable systems like a steady job, a company structure, or predictable income. But someone with a strong internal locus tends to think differently. They often feel responsible for building their own security. And that subtle psychological difference can slowly lead someone toward creating multiple income streams. Not out of greed, but out of a quiet need for control. Over time, two emotional patterns start to appear. The first type of person finds comfort in certainty, a stable job, a predictable routine. One source of income that feels reliable. There's nothing wrong with this. For many people, stability creates peace. But the second type of person experiences stability in a very different way. To them, relying on a single income can actually feel risky, even if their job is secure. Even if things are going well, there's often a small voice in the back of their mind saying, "What if something changes?" So instead of seeking safety through one strong structure,
they create safety through multiple smaller structures. One income stream becomes 2, 2 becomes 3, and slowly a financial ecosystem begins to form. What's interesting is that this pattern often traces back to early life experiences. Many people who later build multiple income streams grew up seeing instability in some form. Maybe a parent lost a job unexpectedly. Maybe money was always tight. Maybe the household depended on one person's income and that pressure was visible. Even if these moments weren't dramatic, they leave an impression. Children are incredibly sensitive observers. They notice stress in adults. They notice arguments about money. They notice when security suddenly disappears. And over time, the brain quietly forms a belief. Depending on one thing can be dangerous. So later in life, the person unconsciously builds systems that prevent that vulnerability. Multiple income streams become less about ambition and more about emotional safety. But there's another psychological layer to this. Research on uncertainty and stress, particularly work by neuroscientist Robert Sapolsky, shows that unpredictability can create a powerful stress response in the human nervous system. When people feel they have no control over important parts of their life, the brain stays on alert. Cortisol levels rise. The body carries subtle tension. Sleep can become lighter, even if the person appears calm on the outside.
For some people, building multiple income streams becomes a way to reduce that internal stress. It gives the nervous system a feeling of backup, a sense that if one thing collapses, something else is still standing. So the body relaxes a little. The mind breathes easier. Control returns. But like many psychological strategies, this pattern has two sides. On one hand, building multiple income streams can create freedom, more financial resilience, more independence, more flexibility in life decisions. But on the other hand, it can sometimes hide a deeper anxiety, a fear of losing stability, a quiet belief that nothing is ever secure enough. And when that belief becomes too strong, the person may never feel finished. One income stream becomes two, two becomes four, four becomes six. And instead of peace, they experience constant motion, always building, always preparing, always staying one step ahead of a threat that may or may not come. You can even see this tension in the body. People driven by financial uncertainty often carry subtle physical signs of stress: a tight jaw, restless sleep, shoulders that stay slightly raised throughout the day, a nervous system that struggles to fully relax. Because even while building security, their brain is still scanning for danger. It's a paradox. The very strategy designed to create safety can sometimes keep the body in a quiet state of vigilance. But the healthiest version of this psychology looks a little different. It's not driven by fear, and it's not driven by endless hustle. Instead, it comes from balanced awareness. These people understand that life is uncertain. Jobs change, industries shift, unexpected events happen. But they also understand something equally important. Security doesn't come from building infinite income streams. It comes from building enough stability, and then allowing yourself to live. Enough savings, enough flexibility, enough resilience. After that point, the goal quietly changes from protection to peace. Because at the end of the day, the psychology of money is rarely just about money. It's about safety, control, early experiences, and the ways our mind tries to protect us from repeating old fears. Some people seek safety through stability. Others seek safety through diversification. Both are simply different ways the human mind tries to answer the same question: will I be okay in the future? If this topic felt familiar, there's another video on Mind About People exploring a different psychological pattern behind how people think about success and security. And if you enjoy calm conversations about human behavior and psychology like this, you're always welcome to subscribe to Mind About People and join us for the next one.